crashed yet. No, it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Okay, let's resume with our afternoon here in the Media Center. And Tony Stewart is joining us. Tony is currently 8th in points. And he, of course, drives the number 14 Old Spice Office Depot Chevrolet for Stewart Haas Racing. And more importantly, when you look at this racetrack, Tony, you've won 5 times here. And earlier in the session this morning, a lot of the talk was about, well, is Tony a guy that you have to keep your eye on and so forth? So your thoughts about racing here at Watkins Glen?
Anytime you got a record like we've got here, it makes you definitely look forward to this event every year and coming here. Last year we started off kind of slow on the practice day and got going really good in the race. So hoping that's going to kind of work again. We're a little bit off pace today, but we're making gains on it and getting a direction on what the car's like. And so we got another long session coming up that should give us plenty of time, hopefully, to get the rest of the way there.
All right, we'll take questions for Tony. If you have one, raise your hand. We'll start right here. Raise your hand real high, Dave. We've got a mic holder. Then we'll go over here to Brian.
Yeah, Tony, Dave Robin with NASCAR.com. Atlanta Motor Speedway this week announced that it would only have one Cup weekend in 2011. I mean, for you personally, what does that mean? Or will you be sad to see Atlanta go to one race? And with the schedule changing pretty radically, I mean, what's your thought in general on that?
I'll be honest, I haven't really thought much about it. It's, things change over time. NASCAR knows where we need to be and what markets we need to be at, and I guess it's kind of like we've always said. I mean, we kind of just trust their judgment on where we're going and why we're going there. So, it really doesn't. There's tracks that I like better than others, and this and that. Atlanta's kind of one of them that has kind of fallen in the middle of the road. I mean, I've had good runs there, and I've had some miserable days there, but there's going to be changes. I mean, as time goes on, changes happen. There's tracks that you can look at places like Rockingham, North Wilkesboro that don't even run anymore, and so there's tracks that I didn't even get to run on that I got to watch races of when I was a kid. So the schedule is going to change. I can't say that I'm sitting here with emotions either way about it. I really don't think about it. I mean, we go to whatever races are on the schedule and go race. I mean, that's what we think about.
Go ahead.
Tony, Brian Nelson, Motor Racing Network. What about the safety improvements that they've done here at Watkins Glen with paving over some of the gravel areas and the safer areas and whatnot? Does that give you any added comfort going into this weekend?
It's nice knowing that they addressed the issue that we had last year here. I mean, obviously, we had a big wreck here last year that was, that's kind of been an area of the track where we're splitting one giant course into a short course, and I don't know if there's a real easy way to do that, but they've definitely, you got to give the track credit and the facility credit for making the adjustments and not sitting on their hands on it. I mean, they not only address that area, but they address a couple other areas on the racetrack too. So definitely give them credit for making the changes for sure. But I don't think it's really going to change the racing a lot, and I don't think the drivers really think a lot about it. I mean, we've been racing here a long time, and we've been racing with the stuff that we've had up to this point. So it's nice when you go back to a facility and you know they've made it safer than it was the last time you were here.
Go ahead, Chris.
Chris Johnson from NASCAR Illustrated and SceneDaily.com. Tony, I talked with your spotter Bob Jeffrey last week about the transition that you guys went through when you first started working together. He's a guy that's only worked with 4 drivers in 20-some years. Can you just talk about his style a little bit and what makes him effective in your mind and how that transition was, how long it took to feel comfortable together?
It was real natural. I mean, I've worked with him before in some nationwide races and a couple ARCA races on the dirt. So, when we started working together on the Cup side, we'd already worked together before, and I was always comfortable with him. It's like relationships. I mean, you got to have somebody that you trust beyond a shadow of a doubt, and you got to know that when that guy tells you a direction, if you can't see what's going on in front of you, and he tells you that you need to go there to get out of a wreck, I mean, you have to trust that person 100%. So, we're both Indiana guys. He's got a good sense of humor, and that's important to me. I mean, there's times during the race when I need somebody just to make me laugh a little bit and break up my thought process. So he's definitely one of those guys that can do that, and I really enjoy working with him. I mean, I've, like I said, I've worked with him in the past and enjoyed it, and really like having him full time now.
Go ahead, Kenny.
Kenny Bruce with SceneDaily.com. Tony, when your car's not handling right and you initially go out there, is it more difficult for a team to catch up and improve the performance of the car at a road course than it is at one of the ovals?
Not necessarily. It's still the same challenges, except you're trying to figure out how to do it two different directions. So, whatever you do to fix turning one direction, it's going to hurt the opposite direction. And a lot of times when you have a problem and it doesn't feel right, it's going to feel better one direction than the other. So it kind of leads you the way you need to go with it. So I wouldn't say that the challenges are more. I mean, you're still fighting cambers in the front, your rear springs in the back. It's just you got to, like I said, you just got to worry about it two different directions versus one.
Sean
Vargo with the leader. A lot of guys, a lot of drivers look to you as kind of like the bar at Watkins Glen. Who do you see as some of the top drivers here, not just this week, but just at this track?
I mean, obviously Marcos Ambrose is probably the first guy that comes to mind. I mean, he's been so close so many times and not been able to finish one off, but he's always been there every year. Him and Juan and Robbie, I mean, those are three guys in particular that seems like every time we're here at some point during the day they're a factor. So, it's been kind of interesting to watch practice and see who's been at the top of the practice board. It's a group of guys that you're not accustomed to normally seeing up there with some of them, but they're putting good laps together and being able to do it consistent. So that group may expand by the end of the weekend.
Let's go to the back row back there. Go ahead, sir.
Hey, Toby Motika, WNY-TV. Tony, with this being the 25th year of NASCAR at the Glen, we know this has been a special place for you, but can you kind of talk about what this track has meant to the sport as a whole?
Well, I'm not sure. I mean, I've only been a part of it about 12 years, but I got to watch a lot of races here growing up, and it was always just neat to see guys that are kind of somewhat out of their element every week. But I mean, these guys put more emphasis on road course races now than they ever have, and you see that in the times and the speeds, and watching guys on the racetrack. I mean, there's guys that have struggled here in the past that are really picking their game up. So I would say this is a place that I don't know what it means to NASCAR as a sport, but I know what it means to me. I know how much I enjoy something different. It's a different challenge coming here. It's something that kind of breaks up the normal routine of running ovals every week. So we get to do it at a cool historic racetrack at the same time.
Go back to Sean. Excuse me.
Now, given your success, does that put any additional pressure? Do you feel any more pressure because you've run obviously so well that there's nowhere to go but down?
No, I mean, obviously that's the direction you can go, but I mean, it gives you confidence coming in that you know how to win here and that we've won here before. I don't think we put any pressure on ourselves extra than we do anywhere else. We just go through the motions of what we have to do to make our car fast and run the race according to what we got. But I think more than worrying about going backwards, we still worry about still going forwards.
Anyone else? Right here. Go ahead, John.
You're eighth in points, and Brian's just outside the top 12. How much extra pressure is there on you as an owner and on Brian as races dwindle more than chasing?
I mean, obviously we'd rather both be in real nice and comfortable and secure, but there's nothing we can do but do the same things we've been doing every week. I mean, if you try to do something different and try to do something extra, you normally force yourself into an unwanted mistake. So we just got to go out and do what we've been doing and hope we get a little luck on his side. I mean, he's had some miserable luck this year, and that's hurt us. So we're doing everything we can to help him, but you're careful to not try to reinvent the wheel all of a sudden in 4 weeks and get yourself in a worse position.
Terry Blunt's got one back here, please. Raise your hand, Terry.
Terry Blunt, ESPN.com. Tony, things got pretty crazy at Sonoma. A lot of aggressive driving. I mean, do you expect to see that same kind of thing here? Is that just a factor of restarts on road courses now in general, or do you think it'll be a little toned down from that?
I think it's a little more out of control at Sonoma because we're running slower speeds. It seems like everybody's a little more respectful here because of how fast we're running. It's the restarts will still be action-packed. There's no doubt about that. It's one is a big braking zone and it's really wide down there, so you get a lot of cars that dive down in there, and the same thing going into 6. So there's 2 areas where guys are going to dive, but it's the thing about Sonoma where you got corners that are so slow from average speed straightaways that guys get stacked up and guys just go in and just plow themselves in there, and that's something that I don't think you'll see this weekend.
Go ahead, Steve.
Steve Richards with PR. And Tony, you finished 5th at Michigan the last race. You talk about the upcoming race and how solid was that finish for you at Michigan last month?
It was a good race. Nothing. I mean, I can't even remember running it, to be honest. So I mean, obviously it was a decent top 5, but we'll go there and do the same things we always do. I mean, I'm not even thinking that far ahead. I mean, I'm worried about this weekend, and then once we get through Sunday, we'll worry about Michigan next week.
Claire, go ahead. Get Claire a mic, please. Thank
Claire
you.
Belang, Sirius NASCAR Radio. There's a lot of talk about drivers throwing the car around this racetrack. Casey Kane talked about it. And Casey's been coached, I know, by Boris Said and getting better. But he was talking about having to throw the car, and that goes against his grain because, the finesse you normally use in driving doesn't match with what you've got to do here. How do you balance all of that? And can you talk a little bit about throwing the car around here?
Well, the bus stop area, you got 2 sets of S's there. I mean, you got a right, left, and then a left, right. So you tend to throw it through there a little more. The other corners, I don't know that I see a lot of. I don't feel like I throw the car around a lot. I mean, if we get it right, I normally don't have to do that. So you're still dealing with a 3,400-pound car that you start throwing it, it throws back eventually and doesn't want to stop. So I don't know that we've been big on throwing the car around, but it's. If you get it right, you shouldn't have to throw anything around. It'll normally do what it's supposed to do.
Anything else for Tony? Tony, as always, we appreciate your time coming in here, and good luck this weekend.